Welcome back to the podcast. I am excited today. So, Brian Glass is someone that I have followed on LinkedIn for at least the last year. And I will tell you, I'm pretty sure that I connected to you through Guy Sakalakis, who I feel like he's the Kevin Bacon of the legal industry. Anybody, if I ever mention Guy, are like, oh, yeah, no, I know him. And when I talk to him, if I if I have a question or a comment, he'll say, "Oh, did you connect with so and so?" I just feel like he knows everybody who's anybody in the legal industry, and he's just an amazing resource. And actually, he had given me like this amazing idea. It's one of those brilliant $1 million ideas. Don't know how I'm going to pull it off, but he's an amazing person. So, but through him, I found you on LinkedIn. I have followed you for the last year. Love your content. Love what you're doing with both your companies. And I was so excited that we were able to meet at Kaleidoscope in September 2025 in Austin. It was amazing.
Welcome to your Profitable Law Firm podcast. I'm Kelley Brubaker, your dedicated host, passionate about empowering law firm owners. Let's dive into the hidden strategies that lead to overflowing profits, scaled growth, and thriving lives. This is where overwhelm transforms into confidence, enabling you to create and enjoy your dream firm and your dream life.
And so why don't you give everybody a background about yourself?
So thank you, Kelley. It's a very nice introduction. So I have a personal injury practice in Northern Virginia. I work with my dad. Law firm is called Ben Glass Law. God, I've been practicing now 17 or 18 years, and I joined him in 2019. So 10 years or so practicing across town, ostensibly at a competitor firm. And then 2019 joined his practice. And then you formally joined Great Legal Marketing, which is a solo and small law firm consulting and mastermind group with him, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And we help owners of solo and small law firms make more money, live better lives, things like that.
I am all for that. I mean, my firm, so I have an accounting firm, and my firm is Profit, Scale, Thrive, because I guide attorneys to overflowing profits, scaled growth, and thriving lives. I mean, very much on the same page with you. I love what you're doing. And so we want to talk about today, there's two things we want to talk about. We want to talk about systems and habits that protect owner time. I love that. I'm all about processes. And then we want to talk about, shift gears a little bit into marketing. So how do you take content and use it to turn it into referrals? So which one do you want to start with today?
Well, the content one's easy because we can use this as an example, right? So
Perfect.
So, and it ties actually back into protecting owner time, right? Because we spend so much of our time as the figureheads or law firm owners are trying to create this personal brand and put ourselves out there into the world, right? And you can do it in one of two ways. You can create 7 different things, or you can use one thing in 1 hour of time in 7 different ways. So this podcast is a perfect example, right? We have video and audio from this podcast that we can use to distribute as a podcast, post the video to YouTube. We can cut up the clips through a program called Opus Pro. And there's a couple of others that are like this, but you feed the video into Opus Pro and it'll use AI and cut the clips into 45 to 90-second clips. It will then rank and stack them by virality, newsworthiness, hook, and there's some other criteria. And it'll create little captions on the side. So now we have short form content. We can take the highlights that the short form content creates, and we can turn that into static images with some caption cards. We can use that on Instagram. We can take an AI transcript of the conversation, and we can turn that into a blog. And hell, now you can feed it into ChatGPT and say, write me a series of salesy emails in the style of whoever you want. Dan Kennedy, we were talking about before we hit record.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we can turn that into content that gets distributed out. So I don't know, that's 4 or 5 different ways to use it. You can put it on your website, there's all these different social media channels. And so the principle is, though, that you and I only have to be together for the first hour, right?
Right.
And somebody else can produce every other piece in that chain.
Yeah. Agreed. I mean, and I do. So I probably hit half of what you talked about. I'm not on Instagram, but that's just because I feel like my audience really isn't on Instagram. But I do the short clips, which I use to script,
Mhm.
and that it goes through same thing. I used Opus clips for a while. I don't remember why I stopped with that, um, but yeah, same thing. I love that we can just sit and have a conversation, and from one conversation, we're turning into audio, video, short clips on YouTube, content. I'll create a blog out of this. So, and then I've started. So I've had my podcast for about 2.5 years now, and I'm starting to talk to more and more people who will come to me and say, "I found you because of your podcast," and I'm
Mhm.
like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing." And then I'm like, but don't listen to like the first 50 episodes because they really sucked.
Yeah, and well, so I think a podcast is actually probably poor for discovery. So I think those people
Yeah,
have bad
yeah,
memories, right? I
yeah.
I seriously doubt that anybody found you because of their podcast. Now,
I do
they may
agree.
have you may have shared an episode, or you had a guest who shared the episode, then somebody went in and listened, and then they
Right,
binged 7 more of your podcasts. So they found you in some other way, but then your
right.
podcast is a way to continue to talk to them in a one-to-many, not one-to-one sales conversation
Right.
over hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, right?
Yeah.
And that helps build your Kelly's know, like, and trust with the end
Yep.
consumer, and it lowers the
Yeah.
barrier to them doing business with you.
Right.
And the difficult thing to do for what I do is, like, there's not a lot of people that'll sit around and consume a whole lot of personal injury content if they don't
Right.
have a plan.
I know.
Uh,
Uh,
um, so CPAs, you have the DIYer, right? And I have
yeah.
in the coaching
Yeah.
and consulting list, I have the DIYer who is
Right.
consuming all of this because they want the information, but actually, at a certain point, the information is not good for you because it's a waste of your time to implement it.
Yeah.
And that's when you need a
Completely.
CPA or a CFO or
Yeah.
somebody else to come in and carry the lift for you. But because they've spent 15, 25 hours listening to your content, now the barrier to trusting you and purchasing from you is much lower. So that's when you say they found me because of the podcast. No, they probably decided to buy from you because of the podcast. But
Right.
podcasts actually have very poor discoverability. Like, people aren't out there searching for CPA.
Agreed. Like, well, and that's usually I'm usually hesitant. So, obviously, I have a CRM and I try to track where everybody came from. And when I have my intake, when you go to schedule your initial meeting, one of
Mhm.
the questions is, how did you hear about me? And I list maybe 10 different options plus other. And I am always a little leery of exactly, I always feel like the answer is what they most recently remembered of me. I don't think it's truly, the very initial way they discovered me. Because yeah, I can't imagine people are really, yeah, CPA, law firm, ownership, profit. Like I just don't think people are searching for that to get to me. So no, I agree with you.
Well,
Absolutely.
in end user attribution is always hard,
Yeah.
right? So we have our
Right.
CRM is tied into a bunch of tools for our website, and so I can actually, if you fill out a form, I know what page you were looking at, I know what page you came in on the website when you filled that in. But that's probably not how you found me. The most
Right.
of our clients now come through us by referral, or word of mouth from some other lawyer or doctor or a friend of the community. Now,
Yeah.
if all you did was look at my analytics, you would say, no, they all came from Google My Business because they clicked on the tracking number on your Google My Business, and that's how, or Google Business Profile, and that's why they called you. But having that multi-layer, and it's a good thing that you have um, that attribution, asking the client, how did you get to us?
Yeah.
It's helpful, but it's probably also not 100% accurate
Right.
because
Right.
people have poor memories, right? So people will say, oh, I saw you on TV. Well, we don't run any TV advertising. You know, you
Oh,
may have seen
God,
a
you were
brief.
not at 3
People have poor memories. So at
Yeah.
best, your attribution is better than nothing, but
Well, and that's
it's an
exactly.
educated
Yeah.
wild ass guess.
Exactly. And I kind of look at it and I don't make hard decisions based on what I see in my CRM, but it's a generality. I'm like, it's kind of giving me a better idea. So, but I'll also know, like, somebody will DM me on LinkedIn and then they'll say, I found you from a
Mhm,
webinar or something. And I'm like, well,
mhm.
was it really LinkedIn or was it the webinar? I don't know. I mean, I'm happy either way that people found me, but you're right. It's hard to go back to the very original first. How did you find somebody? So unless if it's a referral, those ones I do know because generally the referring person will send me a message, a text or an email and say, hey, I just talked to you, I just talked about you to so-and-so. And then I'll see an appointment pop up on my calendar. I'm like, okay, got it. I know whatever they tell me, I don't care because I know where that came from. So,
But at least as many times as that happens, the person giving the referral, and maybe this is less true for what you do and more true for what I do, is giving 2 or 3 different names. And so that
yeah,
person is still checking you out online. So it's still, even if the lie that lawyers tell themselves is, I don't need to be online. I don't need to have a digital presence because all of my business comes from referrals. Even if that is true, even if everybody who ultimately ends up at your office got your name from somebody else, it's probably not true that you were the only name that they received.
right.
And that's why it's important to have this content, this nurture content that's out there online that people can go, and before they pick up the phone and call you, which is a scary thing, either to call a CPA or a lawyer,
Absolutely.
um,
Absolutely. Yep.
before you pick up the phone, you can consume hours and hours and hours of content if you want to.
Right.
And some of it's educational, and the fear with lawyers is always, oh, we're going to teach people how to run their own cases, right? We're going to give away too much information.
Right.
The fact is, you couldn't implement it even if you tried.
I give away everything. I talk about everything. So between my blog, LinkedIn post, the podcast, I share it all. I don't gate any of it. I like, if you ask me a question, I'll give you an answer and it'll end up being somewhere on the internet. But I agree because you get overloaded with so much information that eventually you just have to be time out. I need to call somebody to just carry the load for me because I can't do it
Mhm.
all. And that's really the thing. So no, I'm with you about sharing everything. I used to have friends that would say, well, I write a blog post, but I leave out like the one key thing
Right,
and to make them call me. And I'm like,
right.
they're probably not calling you. They're closing the page and they're going to somebody else.
And
Yeah.
a decade ago, that might have worked,
Right.
but I don't think people have long enough attention spans to read to the bottom of the article anymore.
I agree. No, I totally agree. And yes, I mean, exactly what you said. I met somebody, maybe it's been a year or two at this point, that small town law firm, no social media, nobody, I can't remember how many partners, but nobody in the office has LinkedIn accounts, no website. And I'm like, I am so perplexed. And this is a big firm. And they were like, yeah, it's just all referrals, but it's a multi-generational
Mhm.
practice, been around forever, in a small town where they practice everything. Like they don't have a niche. And so they just help everybody. And they're probably one of the fewest like there's not that many in town, right? So when you have a problem, you have to go to that firm. And it blows my mind. And I'm like, you seriously are not on LinkedIn? Nope. You don't have a website? Nope. Facebook page? Nope. But I've seen the financials, they make money. So
Well,
they're doing it, but that's not the normal in
yeah,
20,
which is,
right?
yeah. And so none of that is to say that you can't make money without all
Yeah,
these things, but you probably could
right.
make more money if you had them.
Exactly. Because I mean, that is the big thing. I mean, you definitely hit on the no like trust. And that's something like I followed Dan Kennedy for a while, and that's for a long time. Him and Ryan Dice are like the big in my world. I followed them for at least a decade, maybe even 15 years. And no like trust. I'm on board with that because I see it continually. So definitely on board with no like trust. So yeah, it's the more everybody's invisible, right? The world, like it feels like everything because the internet's there, but there's just so much that you become invisible and it's hard, or you start invisible, right? And you really have to make some noise to get people to connect and see you. And then you follow that no like trust journey. So absolutely.
Yeah.
So do we want to talk anything else about marketing, about content?
Anything else about marketing and content? The big objective, I talk to people who ask the question, well, how do I start creating? How do I start LinkedIn or Instagram or whatever?
Yeah.
And I don't have good advice for that other than you just have to, right?
Yeah.
And you'll have better
Right.
questions after you do it for 6 months. If you do it every day for 6 months, you'll have a better set of questions than how do I do it?
Yeah.
Because I really don't know what to tell you. Because I think that highest barrier that most people face is getting over the the resistance to just pushing send or clicking post. And if you can't get past that, the best copywriting advice in the world isn't going to help you.
Right.
And so that's the number one thing. And then if you just, there are no hacks, or there are some, but
There are
if
some.
you don't know the baseline stuff, it's not going to work. And you'd be better off just doing it poorly for 6 months and then coming
Right.
back and trying to learn it on your own.
No, I agree. I mean, when I started, I don't know how long I've been on social media, but because this is year 20 of my firm, but, I started with the simple website, whatever, but, terrified, like it was terrified to start a Facebook page. Right. Because I was like, oh my God. So I started the Facebook page and I felt very naked. Like, oh my God, everybody could see it.
What
What
if
if I
nobody
post?
likes it? Yeah.
And then, yeah. And what if what I post, nobody likes, right?
What
Um,
if somebody gets my name and they come and check me out and I only have 11 followers,
exactly.
So yeah, but you have to get
Right.
through 11 followers to have 1100.
Well, and that's the thing. And so then I went from the timid to then all of a sudden I kind of got a little bit bold. And then oh my God, I was killing myself. I was trying to be on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Reddit,
Mhm.
uh, all of them. X was probably the one where I opened pages, but just could never get in the groove of that because 140 characters is just not my
Mhm.
style. It's rare that I can say something in one sentence, for better or worse. But then I was killing myself. Like I went to the other extreme. And then I'd get to the end of the day and I'm like, oh my God, I did nothing but be on social media all day. What am I doing? So it took me a while to, after posting for a little bit, kind of going back and saying, well, wait a minute. So I had my VA. I'm like, go in once a week, update. We had a Google sheet of followers from each channel. And then I'm like, okay, TikTok is going nowhere. We're done. Reddit, I can't deal with the Reddit crowd. I'm like, we're done with that one. So just kind of narrowed down. And it was like, once I went all in on LinkedIn, like things really took off for me. I mean, that was, and I don't even know how many followers I have. I don't think it's a ton,
Mhm.
but I feel like the followers I have are ideal clients.
Well,
So
it's
that
where
makes
your
me
audience is. Right?
exactly.
Your audience is not on TikTok.
Right.
And I think that's a mistake that a lot of people make, is they try to be everywhere, and you can go to a conference like Kaleidoscope
Yep.
and you can see that there's somebody who's good at Instagram and somebody who's good at TikTok and somebody who's good
Yep.
at LinkedIn and somebody who's good at Facebook. You guys should be good at all of them, right?
Right.
Almost nobody's good at all of them.
No.
And you don't have to be to run a wildly successful practice.
Right. No, and I agree. I mean, like I follow Mike Rafey, but I follow him on YouTube actually. And he like thousands of likes on his videos. But on YouTube, I'll see the same video and it gets like
Mhm.
5 likes. And it's nothing against him at all. I love his content, but it fits more of the YouTube crowd. And so it's just a different audience, right?
Mike and I are on a panel together at
Yeah.
the event here at the end of the month. I
Yeah.
just saw that he's now hit like 1 billion views on either on Instagram or on YouTube. I'm not sure which.
Right.
And I'm wondering what I'm doing on the panels.
Well, sit close enough and maybe if it'll rub off on you a little bit.
Well, but so we were doing prep work, and he's the same way that you articulated this earlier. Like, I'll tell you everything that I'm doing because I
Mhm.
just don't think half the people aren't even going to try, and half the
Right.
people that try won't be able to keep up.
Right.
But Mike's also been doing it for 8 years, and so if you're
Right.
just starting a channel tomorrow
Yeah.
and frustrated that there are only 11 people who have viewed it, and you
Yeah.
got one thumbs down and a negative comment,
Yeah.
like, understand that he's got an 8-year head start on you.
That was really hard for me to accept.
Yep.
And
100%.
part of it was because I would see these YouTube channels, an 8-year-old kid has 1 million followers. I'm like, what the hell am I doing? I am a legit professional. I'm getting great advice for free. Why are
Mhm.
people not following me? And they're watching some kid unboxing toys. Like, what am I doing wrong? So that was definitely something I had to overcome. That I'm now to a point where as long as I'm just true to my message, speaking to my audience, they will find me. And they do. Slowly I'm increasing my followers. And I think that it's good followers for me. So
Yeah, you've probably got to do. I mean, I've been on LinkedIn daily for like 3 years, right?
yeah.
And so I think that's the level of commitment that you have to have. And if you don't enjoy it, you don't have to do it, right? So you don't have to be in every
Exactly.
channel where everybody is.
Yes. Yes.
I do think you have to have, and it doesn't have to be social media, but you have to have some digital presence, even if all your cases come from referrals.
Exactly. Cause I feel like people have to, people do research no matter how you like, no matter where they heard about you. Cause I know what I do. Somebody will say to me, hey, check out, hey, I need a new roof. Hey, check out these roofers. And then I'm going and looking for them online. I mean, I just had a guy, my lawnmower broke. I have 7 acres. So for me to have a lawnmower down is a huge deal, right? And so my tractor, the throttle cable broke. And it started off with, I don't have a trailer. Well, I have a trailer, but the car, my SUV I have now doesn't have a hitch on it. So the trailer really does me no good because I can't tow anything. So then I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to get this mower? And it's a big, like 4 foot wide, mower. And I'm like, where am I getting this somewhere? And then, so, I'm asking different people and they're like, oh, no, there's like, here's 2 different people. They're mobile repair people for mowers. And I'm like, oh my God, awesome. I get one guy out here and he's like, oh yeah, it's this. This is exactly what the problem is. I'll order the part, get it fixed in a couple days. Great. Well, but before I even called him, I'm on Google, I'm on Facebook, I'm looking and I'm like, okay, I feel better. The guy has a couple of reviews. I now see in certain local Facebook groups, he's being referred multiple times. And then it ended up turning horrible because, of course, this is like mid-June, and I'm the only person with a down tractor in June, right? So it took forever to get the part in. I actually got frustrated because I could get it next day on Amazon. So I ended up, my cousin lives about a mile away, and I'm like, dude, can you come and help me with this? And he's like, yep, have no idea what I'm doing, but we'll figure it out. And so we're on YouTube, we're in my barn, and we're like, hey, Google it, like look on YouTube, find this. And so, the reviews, I then got to a point where I'm like, I circled back, but I could not do it. I could not. So because I canceled the guy. Like, I'm like, dude, seriously, I needed this fixed because we're like 3 weeks into me not mowing my grass. I mean,
Mhm.
I like knee high grass. And I so badly wanted to go back and just add a review, but then I felt guilty. And I thought, I don't think it's fair that my one negative review would, that like I could taint his good image. Because I think
Mm,
he's a really good guy, but I
That's
think it's
fair.
just really bad timing of being June in the middle of grass mowing season. He's busy with other, tons of different things going on. So I felt bad about the whole situation, but I wasn't willing to go and just write this negative review. I felt like it'd be skewed in the wrong way. And so I didn't,
Here's the
as a business owner, I didn't want to do that to somebody else.
here's the lesson for lawyers. Even
Mhm.
if you screw up your client's case, as long as the client likes you, they won't leave you a negative review.
And that's probably really true because that's what happened. I really like this guy. But I'm like, seriously, I need you to come fix this today. Like I needed it fixed last week. So yeah, but I do agree with that. I think that sometimes people just like you enough that they'll respect that things just didn't line up for whatever reason. And it just wasn't the experience you expected it to be. And in law, like it's way different for what I do. In law, depending on what area of practice, like you can't control a jury. Like, I mean, there's just going to be things that are beyond your control. You could do the best. You could have, just the amazing, if we're talking like baseball, you could be batting 1,000 and you still
Mhm.
lose. Like you can't, like you could have done everything right and still not have the outcome you wanted. So that's tough. Like I would have a hard time with that. I would struggle.
Well, so it's rarely, Kelly, if you go and you read 1-star reviews, it's rarely that they didn't like the outcome, right?
Oh, and that's a good
It's
point.
it's one of 2 things. It's the lawyer didn't communicate with me at
I
all,
was just gonna say,
primarily that. And so
yeah,
that's the number
yes,
one cause of
yeah,
ethics complaints for lawyers.
yeah,
So anecdotally, I think it's the number one cause of 1-star Google reviews. Or lawyer didn't communicate to me that that outcome was a possibility. And
oh, that's a good point. Yeah,
at least in a way that I interpreted and that I heard. Um,
correct. Yeah,
and so you're right. You could do everything right and you could still get a poor result. But perception is everything for clients. And so if the client doesn't feel like you explained that that was a possibility or a serious possibility,
right,
then it's the same as screwing up the case. It's the same as not having ever
right,
explained that something bad might happen. Right.
right,
So
right.
in the personal injury world, like I've had clients who get to the end of the case, um, and I've started saying this now because I had one client one time who didn't understand that if we rejected the offer and we went to trial, you didn't like come back and get the offer. It wasn't a one-way ratchet, right? You
It
could
just didn't
actually
sit
do
there.
worse.
It's
And
on the
so
side of the table.
I feel a little bit silly explaining. I'm like, you
Yeah.
probably know this, but just in case, like if we go to
Right.
trial, you could do worse.
Right.
And every now and then a client goes, "Oh, I didn't realize that."
Right.
And so explaining now you can go overboard and explain everything that you've had one-off problem with
Right.
in your career.
Yeah.
Um, but it's the explanation of the communication that covers a lot of mistakes. It covers a lot of inartful things. And it does that because it's again, back to building that know, like, and trust with the client where, buys you a little bit of cover if
Yeah.
something goes south, if it's your fault or if it's not. Which is not to
Right.
say like it's not licensed to screw up cases or not take
Right.
accountability when something is wrong. Um, but you were less likely to have those negative 1-star reviews or bar complaints or all of the as long as you're communicative along the way.
Right. And I think the hard thing, and I struggle with this sometimes too with clients, that you don't always know their experience and you don't know where they're coming from. And so it just is hard. And then you don't know who's in their ear. So they leave your office and they go
Mhm.
home and then they're going to hit up Facebook or, whatever, or go to the bar and sit with their friends. And then it's going to be, I mean, because I will tell you, so I'm divorced. And when I got divorced, well, it took us 2 years. He moved out, and then it took us 2 years to figure out what we were doing. But anytime I would be somewhere and somebody would be like, "Oh, hey, how's it going with with the husband?" And I would get unsolicited advice. Like, I didn't want to talk about it, but yet I would always get "Well, when I got divorced, my ex did this to me with the kids and the child support." And I'm like, "Okay, I just have to put the earmuffs on. I can't deal with all this because it was a lot." But I can imagine for you sitting with a client who's never ever been in a car accident. Now all of a sudden, everybody and their brother's been in a car accident and they're
Mhm.
telling them their experiences, good or bad.
Mhm.
And so, but that's a lot for them to take in, and they're going to hinge on little things that they've been told, but you don't know that. You don't know what they've been told. And so it's difficult. I know the conversations with clients can be very difficult.
Well,
But yeah.
I talk about Morgan Housel, his book Psychology of Money a lot, and in the
Okay.
first chapter is called "Nobody is Crazy," and the point is that your own experience of the universe makes up 0.00000001% of all of the knowledge of the universe. However, but it makes up 100% of your experience,
True.
right?
Very true.
And so there's so much that you don't know, but
Yeah.
we just kind of accept as true. And clients are the exact same way, right? So every lawyer has the story of the client who has, the neighbor who wasn't even hurt and got more money. Well,
Oh,
I mean,
no. Right.
that's, well, I don't know anything about, I'm not going to argue with you about his case because I don't know anything
Right.
about it. And you
Right.
probably don't either. But
Right.
perception is reality.
No, and I agree. I mean, yeah, I've had lots of people. Well, I mean, I have so in my world, I know a lot of different, CPAs, bookkeepers, accountants, enrolled agents, just other similar service providers, right? And some of them will say to me, "What the hell are you thinking working with lawyers?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Contact the same lawyer." Like, I don't know. I kind of fell into this, but I mean, I got to a point where I looked at my client list one day and it was 80% law firms. And I'm like, I just kind of dove into that and embraced it. But I'm like, "What do you mean?" And they're like, "Well, either they don't like the trust accounting or they're terrified of doing something that they'll be sued." And I'm like, "Okay, well, you're a good person. Like, if you do the right thing, I think you're going to be fine." So I don't know. I mean, I get people that judge me for being a CPA and they're like, "Oh yeah, you probably know how to the loopholes with the tax code." I'm like, "No, I don't do tax work." My like I don't know. It's weird what people know and their perception of different things, right?
I, I have a blanket prohibition in my office on working with lawyers. In general, I won't take
Did
another
not
lawyer's
expect that.
case. Um, no,
Right.
I have never, I don't think once, had a good experience where I had a lawyer for a client.
I
Because you have to, especially people who don't practice in my area. And if you
yes.
did, why would you hire
Right.
me? Or who haven't practiced ever at all. There's so many
Yeah.
things that they know with absolute certainty that are just incorrect. You have to unlearn from them. And then lawyer, like we love to redline everything.
Yeah.
And it becomes this back and forth over like little mistakes that just don't matter. I won't represent other lawyers.
I can
So I don't
understand
know,
that.
but your friends who ask you, how can you be a CPA for lawyers?
Right.
I wouldn't want to work with us either.
Oh, I have great clients. And maybe it's just because I have great clients. I mean, I've had a couple bad apples over the years, but thankfully, like they've weeded themselves out. I overall, and it was weird because I started, so I started my firm and I was doing everything for everybody. If it was anything related to supporting a small business or personal taxes, I was doing it. I had staff that worked for me. I had another CPA and she did all the tax work. I did everything else. And I got to a point one day where I get this email in the middle of tax season saying, I'm working like 60 hours a week. And I get this, hey, I'm general in-house counsel for a company that's going out of business. And which means I just lost my job and I need to start a firm by the end of the week.
Mhm.
And I need to meet you by Friday. And I'm like, it's mid-February. I'm like, dude, I'm already working 60 hours. You got to be kidding me. And I thought, well, now I need to meet the guy who has the balls big enough to demand a meeting with a CPA in tax season. And he and I just hit it off. And so that one relationship, like I was just like, okay, come in at, Friday at 3. And he shows up and we start talking. And before you know it, like we become best friends. And then he referred me to another law firm who referred me to another law firm. And before you know it, my whole client roster was attorneys. And it was just something that I fell into, but I'm just very comfortable having the conversations. And since I've now been in the industry so long, I mean, I've been working with law firms for at least 15 years now. And so I speak the language. I understand where you're coming from as a professional service provider. I get that part of it too. As a business owner, I understand that part of the struggle. Like it's just a whole, it's like a big ball of wax and I just embrace it. So
Mhm.
I don't know. I love working with law firms.
So
So
maybe a good segue into protecting the owner's time.
oh, let's do that. Absolutely. Because I love processes. It sounds weird because I hate doing the same thing over and over again. But when you have a process, like things you become more efficient, right? And then things don't fall through the cracks. So let's talk about processes and habits.
That's a very it's funny because I love having processes,
Mhm.
but I won't operate any of them. Uh, my practice, I'm pretty freewheeling. I have rules like, we won't take this kind of case, or we
Right.
won't represent lawyers, but I am not 100% perfect at sticking with them, and I'm terrible at operating processes, right?
Right.
I
Right.
think I think I'm really good at parachuting in, finding the right lever to pull that's the next best use of our next dollar or hour or clients,
Right.
leveraging their time. But I'm really bad at going through from beginning to end and doing things in the way that I want everybody
Right.
else to do them. So
Right.
I'm not a great systems, but what I'm good at is I can, if somebody else has created a system and it's operating at like a B level, I'm
Yep.
really good at making a couple tweaks and making it A minus A level, but I
Right.
am terrible at constructing it from scratch.
Oh, it is hard. Oh, I struggle. So that's my big thing. I love Chat GPT because I can't look at a blank page. Whatever it is, I just can't do it. I can't start with nothing. So for me to just go in and say, can you at least give me ideas, give me an outline, give me a bullet points, give me some direction. And now I'm off to the races because now I'm like, okay, I can copy that, put it into Word, and now I can start whatever it is, whether it's a blog post or an SOP on something. Like I just need
Mhm,
a starting point and it
mhm.
will look nothing whatever I started with, but I just need a direction to go. So absolutely. And I honestly don't love following processes. I feel like if like I'll have to stop because I have to look up what step did I just do? I have to go to the next one. But on the flip side, if I don't have something written down and then I go to do it and it's something I do maybe once a month, I'm like, oh my God, now I'm struggling. I have to think about what order? Why did I have to do it in that order? So I have a love-hate relationship with processes, but it's nice because I have staff that I can just say, here, new client, I need you to do this part first. or it's month end. I need you to do this. And I know exactly what they're going to do because I've already laid it out for them. This step, this step, this step, this step. So that's where I love the processes. So I
Well,
I appreciate what you're saying.
and that makes sense, in both of our businesses, right? Because the staff usually is not expert at whatever the thing is in the same way that we are, right?
Right.
So maybe we don't need a checklist or a set of processes to be able to arrive at the same conclusion. But it's, if nothing else, it's helpful to them because they go through and then, when something is out of whack, that's when it comes back up
Right.
to us.
Exactly. No, absolutely. But I like how you phrased it because we talked about what we were going to talk about. And you had said, systems and habits that protect owners' time. And I love how you phrased it that way because I think sometimes I'll ask somebody to do something, whether it's a client or my staff, and sometimes they don't look at it the same way. And because I'm trying to be more efficient. And to me, to be more efficient means you're doing something faster where for the day, if I can do something faster, or if I do something faster, I can now take on 2 clients.
Mm-hmm.
It creates more space for me to take on more work. So, but I don't know that everybody else looks at it the same way. So I do like being able to protect an owner's time on what they're working on.
Part of protecting the owner's time is making sure that the owner isn't doing something efficiently that the owner shouldn't be doing at all. Right.
Yes.
So for instance, one of the things that recently happened in our office is, we receive a lot of checks, and forever and ever and ever, I was the one operating the desktop scanner, right?
Oh,
To run
yes.
them through. And I taught somebody else, and what was taking me 7 minutes was taking her an hour.
Oh,
And she tried to kick it back up to me because it was taking her so long. No.
right. Right. It doesn't work that way.
The better use of your time to figure out, it's better use of
Right.
my dollars to pay you for an hour of doing this thing
Yeah.
than it is for me to divert my attention once a day to do this thing for 7 minutes. So there is that point in the entrepreneurial cycle where, even if you were doing something super efficiently, it's not worth your hourly
Right.
rate, or it's not worth what it's costing the business to not have you working on something else.
Absolutely. I completely agree. I mean, I'll have, if I have, a firm owner and it says, they say to me, I'm just really struggling. I can't figure out, I need to double myself. There was a movie in like the 80s or 90s, Michael Keaton, Multiplicity, where he like literally duplicated himself, but every version was degraded.
Mm-hmm.
I'm old, but I think of that. I always I come back to that movie and I'm like, you don't want to duplicate yourself. Like it's just not worth. What you need to do is figure out what are the tasks you're doing that either you don't like to do, then definitely delegate those, or the things that you may be doing amazing and very efficient, but they should they're so easy to delegate to somebody else to do. Those are the things we're getting those off your plate first. Then that's going to free up your time. Then, so, and I have a whole spreadsheet I'll have clients work on that goes through and figures out what are the things. And I try to quantify, what's your hourly rate? What do you bill at? Which I know for you is a little harder on contingents, but what is your hourly rate? And quantify by you doing all these things because you either hate them or somebody else could be doing them. This is how much you're missing out on money because you could be giving that to somebody else and you could be freeing up your time to do billable work. And so, or decide that it's just worth it to hire somebody to do it and you go home early. Right.
That's always the hiring question. It's like,
right.
Oh, I can't afford to hire somebody to do X, Y, Z. It's like, well,
Right.
how many hours are you spending doing that job right now?
Yeah.
And if we freed you up and you spent that time hunting more dollars, you don't think you would come out more profitable on the other end?
Right.
So you've probably read Dan Martell's Buy Back Your Time. He talks about this 25% equation. Anything that you can outsource for less than 25% of your effective hourly rate. And he's got the whole equation of how to figure out what your hourly rate is, even if you're like me and you're operating a contingency firm.
Right.
Anything you can outsource for less than 25%, you should. And then, we've done a variation of what you're talking about, EOS has a chart called the delegate and elevate
Yep.
chart. And in that lower
Absolutely.
quadrant, the things that you're not very good at and things that you hate doing are the thing.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that's got to get on your plate, because that's the soul sucking part of the job that you don't want to show up on Monday and do,
Yes.
right?
Right.
That's what causes us to have Sunday scaries.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, just because you're a firm owner doesn't mean you have to do it all. I mean, Jeff Bezos, I mean, granted, he did it all the first couple of weeks, but then he, as things took off, he's hiring people to help him process orders and take payments and wrap the books up and all the things. And so, it didn't take long for Jeff to elevate himself out of that. Right.
Mhm.
So yeah, no, I'm definitely for me, it's the things you don't like doing, delegate those right away. I don't care what you have to do to get those off your plate, but I do like shifting somebody's viewpoint. Forget about the cost, because somebody immediately will say, well, but I have to pay them $20 an hour, $25 an hour. I can't
Right.
afford that right now. And I'm like, okay, well, bad news, good news. The bad news is it's not just $20 an hour. You got to pay the payroll tax. It'll be a little higher than that.
Yeah.
But the good news is you can be paying somebody $25 an hour and you're going to now make more than $100 an hour. So that's the thing. That's the trade-off. I'm making more money for you. So by redirecting your focus every day.
It's way easier said than done, though.
It is. I agree.
When you're on the other side of that table.
Yeah. Oh no. And I agree. I mean, it's hard. It's so easy to look at the cost because you know that you have to pay it, right? So you hire somebody and it's a person that's very personal. And you have to pay, like, you just know that check's coming due very quickly on payday. Whereas it's hard to quantify. Like, I can give you an idea of how much money you would make. Okay, I just freed up, 8 hours of your week. You should be able to get, $2,000 revenue out of that. But it's like, where is that coming from? It's the not believing. And I'm like, okay, how much is your phone ringing? Like, how many intake, how many calls is your intake taking all the time? Like, there's other things. I'm promised that we can work on the marketing. If you're not getting the phone ringing off the hook, we can work on marketing. I'm not a marketing person, but I will connect you. I know people. So let's work on that. But you have to free up your time to be able to let the work come in. It's that seesaw, right? Like, you're like, sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. You kind of got to find your fulcrum point, right? To just see where the balance is. So it's not easy being a firm owner. So, I mean, it's just a lot that we struggle with. And I know even I will struggle. There's things I struggle with because I just don't know. For the longest time, I struggled with marketing. I'm better than what I was. By no means am I a marketing expert. I just have figured out things that do work for me and don't work for me. And just because something does work for me, I know enough that it doesn't work for everybody. And if something didn't work for me, doesn't mean it doesn't work for everybody else. Like, but it's taking the educated, okay, when can I do this on my own? When can I hire somebody, and, to just do it for me? So, I mean, it's just constant. And the problem is, I mean, we can play armchair quarterback all day long, but you just have to make decisions based on what information you have in front of you right now, and just make that best decision, move forward. If it's a wrong decision, as long as you learn from it, we're good, right?
Well, right. Well, it's funny, because it doesn't even have to be the best decision, right? So many times it's like,
Yeah.
as long as you make a decision, you start moving in one direction, you can, I don't know, what's the sailing reference? You could change tack, right? You can adjust sails, whatever.
Just the sales. Yep.
But you can't do that if you're just sitting there for a week thinking about what should you do.
Exactly.
Again, there you go, like, way easier said than done, because a lot of
I
these
know.
things feel like they're one-way doors, even though you can always
Yes.
come back through them.
Right.
But so often it's like, just make a decision and commit to the decision, and
Yeah.
pop your head up in 3 months. Because even the hiring thing is like, you're not committing to hiring this person
I know.
into perpetuity. If it doesn't work out in 3 months, you can part ways.
Absolutely. I mean, and it sucks. I've had to fire people for different reasons over the years. And it's like, I'm miserable for days, like, having made the decision until I tell the person. So I understand that part, but you have to do what's best for you in the firm. So as hard as it is, if it's not working out for whatever reason, you have to part ways and go a different direction. So, but just making a decision is better than sitting still, for sure. Yeah, I agree with all that. So I have kept you on this call for 45 minutes. And it's been an amazing conversation. So first, I definitely want to talk about, so you've got a summit coming up. So can you talk about what you have going on in October?
So we run a company called Great Legal Marketing. The name is deceptive because it is less and less about marketing, and more about the proper management of a law firm, particularly a solo and small law firm, in a way that's going to serve your life, right?
Yeah.
So I have, and 20 years ago, like GLM was the only game in town. It was one
Yeah.
of the only legal conferences outside of something like AAJ or
Yeah.
your state bar association. And now there's an event every weekend.
Right.
And at a lot of these events, the focus is on digital marketing and AI and the next
AI.
media. And
Yeah.
most of these firms tend to be larger than the firms that we service.
Yeah.
Our niche really is the solo to maybe the 5 lawyer firms doing somewhere between $500,000 and $3 million, maybe $5 million in revenue. We're really good at taking those firms and increasing the revenue, increasing the profit, but more importantly, giving the lawyer more of their time back and helping them create the kind of place they actually want to show up on Monday, right?
Right.
So much of having a successful law firm is just having a place you like going and working.
100%. Absolutely. I agree.
And so this year's theme is the perfect law firm. We have plenty of digital marketers coming to help you with your digital marketing, but also hiring, firing, a culture,
Yes.
KPIs, and then the big name that'll be at our event is Dan Kennedy this year. So it's October 23rd to 25th
Okay.
in Dulles, Virginia, which is just outside of DC. It's super easy to get to. Fly right into Dulles Airport, take a little airport shuttle over to the Westin, Washington
Great.
Marriott. And you can grab tickets at glmsummit.com. I'll tell you, this is the day that we're recording it. We've
Yeah.
got like 18 spots left.
Oh, okay.
So
Awesome.
you said this is released in early October.
October 1st.
Hopefully there will still be some tickets.
Okay. And we'll put a link in the show notes for that. We'll do a direct link. So you don't have to rewind. It'll just go to the show notes and we'll put a link right there for you. And I am so jealous. I had shared before the call that I live outside of Cleveland. Dan Kennedy lives outside of Cleveland and he speaks, or not as much anymore, but for a while he was only speaking in Cleveland. So I've seen him a couple times. And yeah, I'm definitely jealous. I think there will be some amazing, like what he says. Anytime I hear him speak, I'm always like, taking notes and like, oh my God, when am I going to find time to do all these things? But they're all, amazing, things that he talks about. So pretty excited for you on that. So
yeah, I mean,
that's exciting.
And the theme really is like what's old is new, right? So everybody in the law is talking about venture capital and how do I sell my firm and blah, blah, blah. I actually like whatever EBITDA multiple you sell your law firm for probably is not as good for you as maintaining and increasing the cash flow. And everybody's talking about digital marketing when actually most of our clients, as we talked about today, like most of them come through referrals and some kind of network that you're in.
Yeah.
And so that's what Dan will be talking about. He's doing, I think, an hour and a half keynote with us.
Wow.
And then a private lunch for our mastermind members right after the summit closes.
Nice. Yeah, it's going to be an amazing lunch, like the whole summit is going to be amazing. So pretty excited for you on that. Anything else that you want to mention?
Well, you're coming on my show, which
can't wait.
Be on the briefs. So people could, if you enjoyed this interview, you could hear more of me there, asking more questions and giving answers. But yeah, that's it.
No, that's awesome. I've had an amazing afternoon with you. Like I said, it was just amazing that we were able to connect at Kaleidoscope. I had a similar experience with Tristan Shannon. So we had both spoken at a different conference in July. I had followed him for a while and I hadn't seen the other speaker. I hadn't seen the list for the other speakers. And maybe like 2 days before I was leaving to go to that conference, I'm like, what? Wait a minute. I know what that is. And so like, I'm on LinkedIn, like, oh my God, I'm going to meet you. So it's like LinkedIn is as expansive and like worldly as it seems. It's nice to be able to make the in-person connections. And so hopefully I'll see you at some more conferences.
It's a really funny full circle because I was sitting with Tristan at lunch and he's like, oh, I'm excited to go to FileMind's event because I'm going to see my property. So we brought it back full circle.
Oh, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I hope that you guys have enjoyed this podcast episode as much as we have. And, hopefully you'll, check us out on the next, on Brian's, podcast that I don't know when our episode's going to release on yours, but it'll be after this one, I think. So join us there and follow us on LinkedIn and have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you. Hey, before you go, grab my new book, Plugging the Leaks, 10 Ways Lawyers Waste Money and Simple Fixes. It's a quick read, plain English, packed with checklists, templates, the 7 to 60-day collections escalator, and the Core 4 dashboard. So you can keep more of every dollar you earn. Now, you can order the paperback or Kindle on Amazon, or you can download it for free, the PDF format, using the link in the show notes below. Remember that profit is something you intentionally plan for in the beginning. It's not a potential bonus at the end of the year. Thanks for listening.